All right, we're going to give them off. Let's try and put you with stitches too.
I'm ready to give you a report after this.
Oh, okay. I'm Rav Yechlan. Hamotzi Mishus HaYochid. We are on the Gimel Aleph, which is on 3, 6, 9, 12 lines on the top. 6, 9, 10 lines on the top, sorry. I'm Rav Yechlan. Rabbi Yochanan said, "Hamotzi b'shus hayach l'shus harabim derech Carmelis." So he takes the shus hayach to shus harabim through a Carmelis chayev. That's chayev, and of course this is the same as the Babli. You go from shus harabim to shus hayachid, even though you're going through a Carmelis, since you do not stop in the Carmelis, so therefore you're chayev. Now, min hamotzi lachrov. How do we know this is true? Because if you carry something behind you, you're chayiv as well. What it means you carry something behind you. Minado, from the following case. Hamiskavin lohotzi lefanav uvolo lachrov. If you have in mind to carry something in front of you, this case is of course brought in the Yud Babli. You have in mind to take something in front of you and it goes behind you, you're potter. Why? Because that's you want it to carry it a better way, and you carry it in a less good way. So p'tur melech machsheves. Lachov ubolo lefonav chayiv. If you carried behind yourself, you want to carry behind yourself, and it came in front of you, right? Instead of carrying the backpack in front, you carry it in front. So you're chayiv because that's a better type of carrying. You're chayiv. Now, although the Yerushalmi doesn't mention it, of course, the same thing is true. It's true if you intend to carry behind yourself and carry behind yourself. As the Yerushalmi, because it's not possible between him and the wall there'll be a Carmelis, an amazing Kiddush. The Yerushalmi holds, we'll see it more explicitly later tonight at Dalton Base, that if I walk, here I am. Let's say this is a street. Here is the middle of the Eden's Expressway. Okay? And then here I am, and there's the wall. And between me and the wall is less than Daled Amos. Between me and the wall is now Rishus HaYachid D'Oraisa.
How does he know those words?
I don't. I just know that because the Mashvi, or the Olam Farshim, bring down that it's lay on Daled base. We're going to see that explicitly. I saw it later on Daled base. We're going to get there. Okay? I don't know, I take it back. Not Rishus HaYachid, it's a Carmelis. I apologize. Not a Rishus HaYachid. It's a Carmelis. So the fact that I'm saying Rishus HaYachid, Rishus HaRabim, doesn't matter. As long as between me and the wall is less than 4 amos. So ask the Yerushalmi, how is it possible that I always if I carry something on my back, that I'm potter, that I'm chayiv, excuse me. It very likely will happen that I walk within 4 amos of wall and I won't see. And I should be therefore always potter, misafek. That perhaps I walked in a way which between me and the wall they're going to be less than 4 amos. Now later, let me give you away a secret. On narrow streets could be a wall, right? Well, if there's a wall nearby, that's what makes it. Now, right. Now the thing, right? And invariably, is going to be a wall somewhere. Now the thing is, what we're going to see later on, although the Yerushalmi doesn't mention it, and the Yerushalmi obviously does not yet know this. What the Yerushalmi will later say is that's only when I'm facing the wall, not if I'm facing away from the wall. But I now, in essence, what happens is when I face the wall, or according to our Yerushalmi, even when I turn away from the wall, I am now becoming a wall. In other words, I'm now, but there's like it's gravity, I guess one could say, an affinity between myself and the wall, which now makes the area between me and the wall a Carmelis. So this is Rishus HaRabim on this side of me, and this is Rishus HaRabim on this side of me. But between me and the wall is Rishus HaRabim. This is Rishus HaRabim. This is Rishus HaRabim. Between me and the wall is a Carmelis. About Kilayim. Yes. Kilayim, right. You're not allowed to grow between the wall. Very good. Yerushalmi type 2 still about this. Right. You're not allowed to plant within 4 hours of the wall. Right. But this is the first one you should have on the Siyum for Seder Moed. Yeah. Yes. But it's only the person. It's not going to be the post. In other words, if there's a post here standing Rishus Harabim, that will not be Rishus HaYachid. See later on, maybe on top of the post, but the post itself doesn't create Rishus HaYachid, a karmelis between itself and the wall. It's only the person, right? So if there is something, it's only for the person and only the person himself. So it's there is some metaphysical element which makes it specifically a person and not a. Okay, so name it. So the Gemara has a kasha, right? It's not possible that between him and the wall is going to be a karmelis. So Rabbi Yetzer said no. About a case, he's looking constantly at the wall. I'm sorry, his load is behind him. And in this way, literally, his load goes in front of him. Now, what it means is that his load goes in a way which is never going to be within 4 Amshus of the wall. Because he carries his load like this. So he's always looking and watching to make sure that the load is not within 4 amos of a wall. Okay? So ask the Gemara. What? Wow, that's interesting. Funny you should say that. So says the Gemara, Rabbi Chia Barava, boy, Kum Rabbi Yimona, V'zu lo derech otzai. This is not the way he carries stuff out. Amalisa said yes. Shekain kasvaya umna, expert porters. So I don't know, Rosh Yeshiva, expert porters, I don't know. Expert porters, Avdi and Cain, they carry their loads like that. Okay, so the bottom line is that since when you carry derech hachoirav, you're chayav, our havamina was that even if you pass through a karmelis. Because derech hachoirav, very often you can pass through a karmelis. Why? Because you might have less than 4 hours between your load and the wall. The Yerushalmi rejects that by saying that's possible that the only time you're chayav is you're carrying backwards is if you're carrying behind yourself and looking constantly at the wall to make sure that you're not going to come within 4 amos of it. Okay? Says the Gemara, Vaida Amrada. So if that's the case, which statement tells us there's psak halacha that one is chayav for carrying through a karmelis from a shusran to a shusran via karmelis or vice versa. So it says the Gemara, the Mar Rabbi Acha Rabbi Maisha b'shem Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Acha Rabbi Maisha both said name Rabbi Yochanan Hamoitzi Yochlim. When somebody takes out food, this we had in the Bavli recently. Hamoitzi Yochlim and Noitzon Laskupa. You put them down on a threshold. You're potter, right? You go from Rishus HaRabim to Rishus HaYachid via a threshold in the middle, so you're potter. Okay? So says the Gemara, Vaha, why you potter there? Askoipa lav karmelis. See, the Askoipa, isn't that a karmelis? So the reason why you potter there, the Gemara says, we know from the Bible, is because you were nach. Because you stopped on the Askoipa. But had you not stopped on the Askoipa, you would have been takeh, potter, chayiv. So therefore, the fact that you stop there is what makes you potter. That means that had you just walked straight through from the Rishus HaYachid via the Askopa, which is a karmelis, to the Rishus HaRabim, you would have been chayev. So therefore, we see from here that you have to stop in order to bring the karmelis into account. Otherwise, the karmelis does not break up the Maaseh Hotzah from the Rishus HaRabim to the Rishus HaYachid or vice versa.
What's the point that you can even get closer to the wall before Amos, as long as you don't stop?
That's true. No, the Yerushalmi will agree with that, and Rabbi Yochanan will agree with that. It's just that the Yerushalmi said it's no raya from the case where you're carrying behind you. In other words, we thought we could bring a raya from the case you're carrying behind you, that if you go through a karmelis, you're potter, you're chayiv. You go through karmelis, you're chayiv, as long as you don't stop there. We rejected, and we said no. Could be in that case you looked always at the wall to monitor that you didn't come within 4 amos of the wall. But you're right. If you do come within 4 amos of the wall and do not stop, you're still going to be chayev because it does not take it into account. Rabbi Yisrael tried to bring the raya before from who tried to reject the raya actually from the case of the guy carrying behind himself, then maybe he's constantly aware that he's not getting within 4 amos of the wall. He was embarrassed, lo amra min garmei, that he didn't for himself remember this raya from this case of the Askoipa. In other words, he refuted the previous raya, but he forgot that there's an absolutely good raya from this case over here. Okay? Rav Huna b'Shem Rav said, Hakol Moedim, everybody agrees, b'Zorek Shu Chayav. Even Ben Azai, who holds that when he was at Mahalik Koi Medami, that if you pass through a Carmelist, then the Carmelist is taken into account, and you are potter, right? Then it breaks up to my sotzar. Everybody agrees when you throw that you're chayav. If you throw from a Shusran to a Shusayog to a Carmelist, you're chayav. We hold that way. It's Bavli too. No, Kutuk Mishun Chadam is Shusran Shusayogin, not a Carmelist. Not a Carmelist. And within Shusayogin, or Shusran within 3 tefachim of the ground, but not through a Carmelist. I think, if I recall correctly. Yeah. It's here too. Now we're going to have Yerushalmi momentarily also. It's on Daf Dalin in the Bavli, I think. The Malach is Kohemed Lav Shab, but Davav. Here, it's on the side of him, so it's Davav. Malach Ben Azai is brought down there. No, it's on Davav. It's towards the beginning of the Bavli. I remember that. Okay? This is the advantage of learning Shabbos right after Yerushalmi, right after. Everything is fresh. Okay. Says Gemara, Rav Huna b'Shem Rav said, Hakol Moedim b'Zorek Shu Chayav, Divrei HaKolu. Everybody agrees this. She'ein Avir Carmelis Kimamosha. He's coming to Bavor and to preclude the question you just asked me. Avir Carmelis is not like Mamish. Was it passed through the Carmelis? It's not, we don't say Kluta Kamishun Chadayim, it's in the rest on the ground. Mapligin, so that's obvious. We all agree about that. Mapligin, where's the Machlekes B'moitzi? When you carry something out through a Carmelist, from a Shus HaYochid to a Shus HaRabbi, be a Carmelist, or vice versa. Rabbi Ben Azai points, Ben Azai exempts because Ben Azai holds Mahalik Koi Metami. Even though you're walking, it's still as if you're standing still. Because since you're walking, it's not as if you're standing still. Boy, this is bothering you.
The getter this kind of concept just doesn't happen. It's like attached to the saucer. You're walking, it's like you're standing still. So there has to be some times when we apply.
I see. I don't remember who says it.
What triggers it?
No, it's not difficult. I don't remember who says it, but somebody says that it's not true if you're running, because sports fan as you are, you know, if somebody's running, then both feet are off the ground. But Mahal means specifically one foot is on the ground every time. So when a foot is on the ground, that's considered to be Hanacha. Okay? It has to be that each foot as it's on the ground is considered to be Munach. That's what the Mara Ben Azai holds. Okay, that's why Zorek also, even Ben Azai agrees by Zorek, that don't take harmless to the ground, because again, there has to be something on the ground in order to be considered to be Munach. Okay, Rabbanan love the Malach Miniach. Rabbanan don't say Malach is like Miniach. That's if you're staying in that place. The Chitz Shor Ravuna Chitz Ravuna. Al Daite Ben Azai, Kohen Ben Azai, Eino the Mischai B'Sochar B'Amas Yelam. It's not possible to conceive of the chiyuv of carrying Arba Amos Shus HaRabim. How can you ever get to the end of 4 amos? Each step is a separate step, right? Became a chotzi and nasik mishinicho kolam ba'amo. Once you started carrying it, so zanoch in each and every amo. V.A. Potter, Shmi Potter, it's good kasha, right? Shami leaves it shver. Says more further. That's it. Rav Yerushalmi Rav. Yeah. Right. Rav Yerushalmi Rav. Hakol moedim k'moitzi b'motzi shu Potter. Everybody agrees, he argues with Rav Huna. He says, no, everybody agrees that Motzi is Potter. Even Chachomim can see the Ben Azai on that. That if you go from a Shus HaRabbi to a Shus HaYochid via Carmelis, even if you didn't stop at the Carmelis, you're exempt. Hakol Moedim. Everybody agrees, even Chachomim. B'mapligen. Where's the machlokes? B'zoichik. The machlokes is when you throw it. The Benazai poiter. Benazai says you're exempt. The Chacham Mechayim. Chacham say you're chayiv. Benazai ovid avi karmelis kimamosha. Benazai says the airspace of a karmelis is like mamoshes. You throw through a karmelis, you're throwing through. It's as if it's landing there. Rabbanan loavdi avi karmelis kimamosha. Rabbanan don't make the avi karmelis like mamoshes. They don't regard it that way. Rabbanan loavdi avi karmelis kimamosha. The rabbis, the Rabbanan don't make. Oh, I just said that. It's not kasha. Rabbanan loavdi avi karmelis kimamosha. I'm sorry, I went back. Masisa Messiah, Masisa Messiah. There's a brisa which is right for each one. Well, actually, there are two brises. One, each one arrived for one of the sides. Masnisa Messiah Rav Huna. Now, of course, this being the Yerushalmi, that's a typo. Masnisa Messiah Rav Yehuda, it should be. There's a brisa which arrived for Rav Yehuda. What's Rav Yehuda say? Rav Yehuda says they all agree that if you're moiti through a karmelis, you're potter. The machlokas is when you threw it through, right? The Chacham say you're chayiv, and Benaz says you're potter. What's the right, Rav Yehuda? If you stood Rishus Harabim, v'zorak ledil, and you threw into a pasture, or lesar, or to some sort of other enclosure for animals, der karmelis, through a karmelis, you're chayiv. Okay, so you threw Rishus Harabim to Rishus Harabim through a karmelis, you're chayiv. V'moitzi potter. But if you're motzi, if you actually walk it through from the Rishus Harabim to the Rishus Harabim to a karmelis, you're potter. That's even like Rabbanan. So it's even like Rabbanan. If you walk it through your potter, you're only chayiv if you throw it. That's a raya for Rav Yehuda. Masnisa Messiah learn shiur should be Masnisa Messiah Rav Huna. We have a price that's raya for Rav Huna. What's a price that's a raya for Rav Huna? If somebody takes that food, and puts them on a threshold, whether he takes them out himself or somebody else takes them out, potter, so they're exempt. Why? Malacha was one not done in one fell swoop. But you did the malacha in one fell swoop. It sounds like you're chayiv, even though you're motzi from a Rishus HaYachid to Rishus Harabim via karmelis. The karmelis is only taken into account if you stop there. So it's clear from this that this price holds like Rav Huna. They're going to Rabbanan by motzi. As long as you do not stop, the karmelis is not taken into account. So mahalich lav goy medami. Rabbanan do agree that if you walk through, Rabbanan don't agree. Rabbanan do not concede that if you walk through you're exempt. You have to actually come to a full stop or do anocha in the karmelis in order for the karmelis to be taken into account. Okay? Benazai Omar, Benazai says, Afilu asam lachto v'asachas, potter. Even if you did the malacha in one fell swoop, you're potter, because of course Benazai holds, malich is, even if you're walking, it's if you stood still, and therefore the karmelis is always taken into account. Ask the Gemara, Vatninan, wait a minute. Vatninan, didn't we learn? Rabbi Meir Omer, Rabbi Meir says, Imoiser Shabbos Votzio. We're talking about a guy who's eating, chaylev nes or pickle burger, right? How many things is chayiv in that case? We had this just before we paid some vacation. So Benazai says, if you lost, skip back. It was Shabbos and he was walking outside, strolling along, munching on the Isser burger. So then, Votzio, and he took it out. He's chayiv an additional Isser because of Votzah. Amrulo, so they said to Rabbi Meir, Eino Hashem. This doesn't count. It's not one of the things we're talking about. Why not? What's the difference? Because one is chayiv even when he's walking. Meaning, the chaylev nos pickle burger is chayiv on even when he's walking. He doesn't have to anoch to be chayiv on that. Whereas the reason why you're chayiv on putting it down. Reason chayiv on the object, which as a born borne object is only because of hanocha. Okay, because it has to be munach in order to be chayiv. Now, happens to be, we're going to talk about this later on in more detail. Hanochas piv is kanochas chayfetz. Right, swallowing it is as if you're doing hanocha, but the bottom line is you need hanocha. It's not enough to chew. Okay, so I'll daited Rav Huna loka benazai. According to Rav Huna, this is not like benazai. Why? Because benazai holds even if you don't do hanocha. Just walking with the object in your mouth, you're already considered to be chayiv, right? Al daite the Rabbi Yehuda the loka benazai loka rabbanan. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's neither like benazai nor like rabbanan, because according to Rabbi Yehuda, even rabbanan agree that mahalach is kol medami. The only machlokus was by zrika, whether zorek is kol medami or not. But everybody agreed that mahalach is kol medami by walking. So therefore, this is not going like anybody, right? Who's it going like? The loka benazai loka rabbanan. Or Rabbi Chanina says interesting answer. Manu Omru Chachamim. Who are the Omru Chachamim? Who are the Omru? It should be Ma'u Omru Chachamim Shein Kashitas Benazai. It's Chachamim who are like the Shita of Benazai. Now, this is a very difficult line to translate. Let's look at the Korban Eida's translation. In the 8th from last line on the page. See that the in the Korban Eidah. Gavin?
7 lines from the bottom?
No, 8. Beginning of the line, it's Manu. Manu Amle Chachamim Shitas Benazai. Klomer, meaning Afilu Benazai. This is even going like Benazai himself. So it'd be Manu Omru Chachamim. Who are the Omru Chachamim? Shitas Benazai. Vayisha Muta Askopa Mitzasa Bifnim. It's about where he was standing on the threshold, partially inside. Upila Chutz in his mouth outside. Upashat Yod extended his hand. V'notla v'achla, and he took the burger and ate it. Shenk on hiluch. There's no walking. Could be rashti le'el, like I explained previously, who brought down the case, or Rabbi Yossi. Inami. So in other words, what we're talking about here, the first approach in the Korban Eidah is where the Pigel Noser Tomei burger, where this burger is outside, and then he's standing on the threshold, and he brings it inside, but without moving at all. Okay, so in that case, even Benazai agrees that the prohibition is not because of Mahalik or Imedam, the prohibition is because of Yinuach. Okay, there's no movement on his part at all. So therefore, what defines a prohibition is the same, both according to Benazai and according to Rabbanan. It has to do, you need an actual hanocha. Okay, when there's movement, so the standing, even of each step in a continuous flow, is considered to be hanocha. The way you're stationary, they need a bona fide hanocha, meaning the full swallowing, in order to be chayiv. Okay? Lishtachrina says the Korban Esar, or Inami says the Korban Eidah. Sover Rabbi Chanina holds the Amrulo, Eina Min Hashem. That which they said, it's not part of the chiyuvim which we want to discuss. It's much more balbatish than that. It means that they didn't mean to say that it has nothing to do with it does nothing to do that it's zem alich or zem meshumeniach, right? That there's a qualitative difference in how the hanocha is performed, which would lead us to the difficulty of, well, according to Rabbi Yehuda, there's no qualitative difference because Malach is always considered to be as if it's munach, because he holds that both the Nazir and Chacham agree with that. What they meant is a much more balbatish chiluk. They meant that on the achila, which is yoredeya, you're chayiv even if you're walking, right? Because it has nothing to do with any kind of hanocha. Whereas by the guy whereas the chiyuv Shabbos, that's already an Orach Chaim thing. That Orach Chaim thing is special parameters. Special parameters of that have to do with Hanocha. So it's not the mitzvah treat whether Mahalach is Kohemed or only Hanocha is Kohemed, but rather what they meant to distinguish is between Mahalach, meaning the act of eating and walking, as opposed to the act of Hotzah. Okay? Is that clear? Relatively clear? Not at all? The Korban second answer. Where's the Korban second answer? It's when the rabbis responded to was this Meir said Zem Miniach. They didn't mean to say that this one's chayiv if you do a hanocha b'teiras halich, and this one's chayiv even if you do a hanocha b'teiras hanocha. No. The Teira of Harry Chayiv and Hanocha is the same regardless. What they meant was Zeh means even if there is no Hanocha, not of Halacha, not of Hanocha, not of any Shabbos parameter. The parameters of your day are distinct from the parameters of Shabbos. That's what they meant to say. Alright? That's all. There's still no...
They're making a difference between hanacha while you're walking and standing on the askupa.
That's the first answer. That's the first approach to Korban. First approach to Korban is the difference between walking and standing still and moving your head or whatever the case may be. Right? The second answer to Korban is that their distinction is between not walking and standing still vis-a-vis Shabbos, but between any type of prohibition of eating in your day, which can be transgressed in movement. When they meant mahalach, they didn't mean walking in the literal sense. They meant movement in the abstract sense. Even if there's no hanoch at all, even if you're in a state of motion, it's still considered to be a chiv in your day. Whereas Orach Chaim requires some form of stoppage of motion. Whether mahalach is koymed dami or not, you need some abstract form of stoppage or motion in order to be chayim. Still not good? I mean, it's an abstract conceptualization of mahalach versus an abstract conceptualization of yeah. All right, but let's see. The proof that I'm awake tonight is that I could get through this. Okay, says the Gemara further. I really shouldn't be awake. This face is so exhausting. But it's the excitement of learning Shabbos. Says the Gemara further. Amrei Chini, Rabbi Chini said, Manu Amalo, oh, we just said. Rabbi Yochanan boy, 5 lines to the bottom. Rabbi Yochanan asked, Hayom B'Shus Rabbi. You stand B'Shus Rabbi with Zorak, and you threw. B'Kinim V'Kolta, and you caught it yourself. Okay, you flew a high fly. No, up. Boomerang, we said, is a shiur. Never gets anywhere. But this you threw up and it traversed 4 amos. Right? And then you caught it on the other 4 amos away. What's halacha? Mao. Vlamas Nisu asked in the Gemara, is in our Mishnah. Kol ta'achar, kol ta'kelev. If somebody else, not our Mishnah. Mishnah is later on. If somebody else catches, you threw something, and somebody else catches it. Another person called a kelv or a dog or shanisra gets burned up in midair potter. You're exempt. And Rabbi Shmuel b'Shem Rabbi Zira said the reason why that's true is because it's b'chaytiv kain. It's when a person grabs it out of its trajectory. Right? That's why you're potter, because lakam lechs machshavas. Your trajectory intended to land there, and instead somebody caught in midair. Right? Sounds like in kolat chayev. It sounds like if you yourself caught it, and that was what you anticipated you would do, so you're chayev. Because there's no difference whether it rests on the ground or rests in your hand, somewhere further afield. So says Mora, Tamam lama hu chayev. Wait a minute, says Mora. Why there? Do we know for sure? In other words, where somebody else caught it, and it wasn't the chatifa, right? Somebody else caught it in a normal fashion, you're chayev. Yet here, Taman Huzarak, Lamu chayev. why there we know for sure it's chayev, whereas here we have a suffix. Okay? There, we know for sure somebody else catches it. It's not a chatifa, rather it's just a catch, so you're chayev. Why is that not the case, right? Says here we're mesupuk. We don't know what the halacha is. Says tamnu zark v'acher kiba, because there was something positive which occurred. He threw it and somebody else caught it. But here, who zark, who kiba? He threw it and he got it. There's no activity occurring, no bona fide activity.
That was his intention, to throw it and catch it himself. This case, right? And it went 4 hours.
Ask the Gemara. Utei pshita lei shu chayev. I know it says potter here. And all of the Farshim Gar is potter, but except the carbonate is not. I like the carbonate is shot the best. So let's learn it with the word chayev. Utei pshita lei shu chayev. Your question. Baby Pashi is chayev. Ilu zorg b'yamin v'hotzi b'kolat b'smol. If he threw with his right hand and caught with his left hand, Shema eno chayev min adein de piv. Is it not chayev similar to your own mouth? Meaning, if you started chewing something in Rishus Rabim and swallowed in Rishus Yochid, you're chayev. So too, it should be the same thing. You throw from your right hand, catch with your left hand, it should be a chayev. What's the shaila? Partially should be a chayev, right? It says more no. Piv lav ka'acheru. His mouth. Isn't it like someone else? Meaning, the stomach is distinct from the mouth. Here, you think of your left hand is like something else? No, if I understand correctly, when you swallow something, it goes into, so to speak, a different domain. It's not,
it's going from outside your
physiologically. Right. Physiologically, it's going to another domain. But here, if it's going from right hand to left hand, there's no qualitative difference.
They're both externals.
They're both externals, right. This is a good way of putting it. So therefore, the Gemara says, at least it's not partial that you're chayav. There's a havamina to say, although we do agree with you that you're chayav, but there's a havamina to say, because it's not, if you put it into your mouth and you swallow it, so then there's a significant change that's occurring. But you go from your right hand to your left hand, there's no significant change which is occurring. Okay? That's the word havamina. By the way, according to this, if you have, say, Harlem Globetrotter or something like that, has very long hands, right? What was the one who had very long hands? One that had very long arms. I forget his name. So anyway, okay. I thought that's who it was, so I didn't want to say. But if you throw from one hand to another hand, you're chayav. So it comes out. Okay. Now, except if you go Avir Asura, this whole Shiloh, Malam Asura, are going to come down in a minute. But Lamais, it seems you're chayav. Okay, says the Gemara, I'm Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, Pshita Rabbi Yochanan, Shazark B'yamin, V'kol B'smol Shu chayav. So the truth is, it's pashut. You know what? It really is pashut. If you throw with your right hand, catch your left hand, you're chayav. Matzricha, what is the shaila? Matzricha, what is the shaila by him? B'zayach b'yamin, v'kol b'smol. V'kol b'yamin. Sorry. If he throws the right hand and catches with his right hand. In other words, he threw, caught with the same hand, further afield. What's our law in that case?
Assuming he didn't move 4 hours. It was in place, and he caught it.
No, I think that even if he did move 4 hours.
Even if he moved 4 hours and caught it with the same hand?
Yeah, because ultimately the Akira are in the same place. His hand. I think so. I think it's even in move 4 hours. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's the same thing.
Theoretically, can you have a catch with yourself? Robin, if you're not moving, just go
in the same hand. Yeah. The Shai doesn't even move 4 amos. The Pnei Moshe says an interesting thing. I don't know if I understand him. But Neosha says if you yourself move 4 amos away, so you should be potter because it's like Shnaim Shasua. It's like 2 people who did it. Zayna Yochel, right. No, since there wasn't somebody else there, so it's like 2 people. I don't know if I would. I don't know if I'd say that. I think it's Pasha. I think since it's starting the same place as finishing, even if you moved, so therefore it would be considered to be potter. That's what I think. It's my impression. Okay, it says Gemara. Rabbanan the Ketzar and Rabbi Shemi b'Shem Rabbi Yaakov said they both said Afilu Zark b'min v'kol b'smol psichol chayev. Even if you threw it to right and go to the left hand, it's a shalbas if you're chayev. Because maybe you'll say, well, what about your mouth? It should be similar to your mouth. No, like we said before, your mouth, once you consume it, it's substantially different. It's a different domain altogether. But here, if you went from one hand to another hand, it's not it hasn't gone somewhere else. So therefore, perhaps your potter, even if it goes to your right hand to your left hand. Rabbi Mana asked, according to opinion which holds you are chayiv, you go from your right hand to your left hand. Me'atov, if that's the case, it's a fascinating question. You take out a gugres with both hands. Yay potter. Should be potter. Why? 2 people did the malacha. If going from right hand to left hand is chayiv, that means that right hand is Ruvain, left hand is Shimon. So therefore, if you clasp something with both hands, Zayochel, should be potter. It's a brilliant question, right? That's to put it mildly, right? Okay.
Very creative.
Yes. So it says, well, no. Amar lei Rabbi Chia Barata Shadoi Basoisa. This is considered to be Basosa. He as a person, in other words, he's not a schizophrenic. His right hand is not Reuven, his left hand is not Shimon. He doesn't have to speak to each other unless he's a puppeteer. But therefore he's chaya because it's considered to be Basosa. He did one malach on as an individual. Did we not learn like that? A person, one person did a malacha is chayev. Shtaim or shlosha shasu, if 2 or 3 people did it, potter there and there. Okay, Rabbi Yechon said, "Hey, Rishus Rabbi." Same time is saying Rishus Rabbi. The kolak geshamim me'avrim mechitzos, and he caught rainwater from within walls. Voti and took it out. Chayev. Rabbi Bun Baruch B'Shem Rabbi Zira said, "B'choitif came." That's only if he grabs it. In other words, water's coming down, drops of water, and he grabs them as they're coming down and puts them in his hand. Okay, I don't even know if he has to put it in his other hand, but he has to grab at them. Kolat, but if he just stands there with his hand outstretched, he's potter. Then even if he takes out Shus Rabbi from within the walls, he's potter. Ask more, why? What's if somebody else gave it to him, meaning his own hand, right? Or Shamayim gave it to him, or he got it from the heavens. What's the difference? The Chor is no difference, and therefore should be chayiv no matter what, or potter no matter what. And more doesn't give an answer to that. But says more, this much is true. Asa Rebbe. Rabbi Yochanan is going like Rabbi. The Rabbi avad avir mechitzas k'mamasha. Rabbi says the airspace between walls is like mamashos. Now this holds, this Yerushalmi holds clearly that Rabbi's statement in the Bavli, a basic command of Malya Damya, that a house is like it's a solid block, applies even to avir mechitzos. even to the walls which don't have a roof on them. So Rashi in Shabbos seems told it specifically applies to house because it says because it's dark and dank in there. So therefore it's like the airspace is considered to be solid because it's very nature. But here it's even if it's open aired. So Rabbi Yochanan still holds if you take from between the airspace over an open walled Rishus HaYachid and catch rainwater there, at least grab the rainwater, and then to carry it out, then you're chayav. Says the Gemara, Haya Omi Bifnim. The person was standing inside Yoram Le'apeus, his hands was within the walls, and his hands extended, and his hand was full of fruit. Pshuto lachutz. And he then extended his hands outside the walls, into Rishus HaRabim. And now it became Shabbos. We had this case also in the Bavli, it also became Sechta Shabbos. So he was standing there, Erev Shabbos, he stuck fruit in Rishus HaYachid, he stuck fruit into Rishus HaRabim. Right, and now it's Shabbos. Says the Gemara, also lach zira, Kish Laviyom became Shabbos. He's got to stand like that for the entire Shabbos. Remember that too? He's got to stand like that for the entire Shabbos. Tough, right? Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yaakov b'shem Rabbi Bo said, "Command them are us." Like this opinion like holds that also ishtamish ravira, so one is not allowed to use the airspace of 10 tvachim. Now, the Ritbaz says the Ritbaz explains this very well. This is a very big chiddush. What do we say normally above 10 tvachim? Malkav Torah says Yerushalmi. Nah, this is going like the opinion that it's also to use even the airspace above 10 tvachim. That the airspace above 10 tvachim is still Rishus HaRabim, right? Is tani mutter. However, there is an opinion which holds that you're allowed to bring your hand back in. What does it mean? Have a boy in Mema, they want to say, really, the opinion which holds allowed to take it back a bit. Probably about when there's another part that says you're allowed to take your hand back in. Okay, so they want to say what's the difference between the two brises. He says allow you to do so. It's where there's where your hand is resting on some platform which has 4 tvachim. It stopped? No, it's still going. Might have clicked, but it's still going. The Mandamar holds its mutter. It's about where you had the airspace above 10 tvachim, but your hand was stopping, so it's just more 4x4 tvachim, which was 4x4 tvachim. Excuse me, not more. Okay, no, it couldn't be 4x4 tvachim. It had to be below 10 tvachim because there would be shasra yachid otherwise. It's below 10 tvachim, but it's saying 4x4. So therefore, your hand is extended onto a carmelis, right? You're in Rishus HaYachid. On either side of this carmelis is Rishus HaRabim. So therefore, we'll let you bring your hand back in order to prevent you transgressing the Isser of putting something inadvertently into Rishus HaRabim. Mandamar also, he says it's also to bring your hand back in, but she'ein sham rochav arba, is where you're not on a carmelis because it's not 4x4. It's not 4x4, and obviously it's not a Malkav Torah either. I don't know exactly what it is, but I know exactly what it is. It's Rishus HaRabim. I don't know why it's not a Malkav Torah, but in some scenario which it's either carmelis or Malkav Torah. So therefore your hand is now in Rishus HaRabim, even if in the airspace above 10 tvachim, because Yerushalmi is saying even in the airspace above 10 tvachim is Rishus HaRabim. So therefore, on the contrary, then you're stuck. You gotta hold it out there all of Shabbos, because now if I let you take it back in, that is specifically the Isser, right? Because you're going to be taking it from Rishus HaRabim to Rishus HaYachid. So there, in that scenario, you're stuck. You have to leave your hand there all of Shabbos. When you're as a carmelis, we're afraid you're going to drop Rishus HaRabim, you can bring your hand back. When you're Rishus HaRabim, well, then we say you're going to bring it back. That's besides the Isser. Stay like that all of Shabbos. Okay? Says the Gemara there. Maikadu. What was the result of this sukkah? So it says the Yerushalmi, we fooled you. The Maisa, we also like the Bavli. Madamar Osur, he who says it's Osur to bring your hand back is Lamata Miasur. Because your hand is below 10 Tvachim. Because then it's Rosh Hashanah. Madamar Mutter, he holds you allowed to bring your hand back in, it's Lamala Miasur. So your hand is above 10 Tvachim, because it's above 10 Tvachim already is in Rosh Hashanah. At best it's a Carmelist, so it probably is a Mokum Tur. So therefore it really fooled you. We also like the Bavli as well. Surprise, surprise. Hani Chayah Ba'abayis Balter. There's Yerushalmi further. The only Chayim and Ba'abayis exempt. Right? Shem Shmuel. Right? But said name is Shmuel. When is this? What extent are we talking about? It sounds like the only Chayim. Right? He's saying Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah. Got a problem here. We should take Yoder Shalani B'Soch Hasora Lakarka. First of all, the only has got to be 10 Tvachim in the ground. Why is that? Because otherwise it's not in Rosh Hashanah. Welcome to her, right? Rabbi Zira said also Barachim in a Koisel Arba. He's got to be more than 4 amos away from the wall. Because what happens if he's within 4 amos of the wall? It's a Carmelist, right? Avalim Reina Rachim in a Koisel Arba Carmelisu. Now that's a major problem. Because then our Mishnah can never, the Rigbaz explains, our Mishnah can never be going like Ben Azai then. Like Ben Azai doesn't work. So you think about it for a minute. Because like Ben Azai, you're never going to have, obviously a guy doesn't have a 4 arm long arm, right? So how does he get to the, he has to walk there. But the moment he walks within 4 arms of the wall, he's making it a Carmelist. So our Mishnah could be going like Ben Azai. Good question, right? Okay? Question the Bavli never even dreamt of. So it says the Gemara, like the conventional understanding that the Yerushalmi was written, the Bavli had the Yerushalmi. So I guess the Bavli just rejected this whole sugya out of hand. So this is not something we have to deal with because it's certainly not true.
They didn't even mention it.
They don't mention it.
It's okay to reject it. They didn't even consider it. It didn't exist.
That's right. And maybe they didn't like Rabbi Zira because he was the one who went from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, right? Remember, he's the one who fasted the 40 fasts to forget we learned the Chutz Lords. Okay, it says so Karsana said, no, I'll give you a case where he can even be within 4 amos of the wall, where his face is facing the Rosh Hashanah. When is it a karmelis? Only if it's facing the wall. If it's facing away from the wall, so then you can even be right up against the wall. So it's now in our Mishnah can be worked according to Ben Azai when he stands like this, right next to the wall, and he sticks his hand backwards into the house. Okay, so that's what's going to work even according to Ben Azai. All right. Says more. Chizd b'shem Rav Ashi said. Chizd b'shem Ashi. So it's going to be Rav Ashi. Rav Ashi was later. Chizd b'shem Ashi said. Kana notes b'shusa rabin. You have a stick which is in Rishus Rabin, Gavasar, 10 Tvachim high. Hamishtamish l'tochim Rishus Rabin, Rishus Rabin, Rishus Rabin, Tochel Chayim. Even the stick, which is not 4x4, is considered Rishus Yachim. Rav Amar, Rav said no. Stick not, we pass on like Rav. Tarkus, I guess, a kind of basket or something, some kind of container. Shoyim Rishus Rabin, Gavasar Tvachim, which is 10 Tvachim high, and Roichav Arba, which is 4x4 Tvachim wide. Hamishtamish Tochel Rishus Rabin, Rishus Rabin, Tochel Chayim. You same from Rishus Rabin, into Rishus Rabin, Yechayim, because he holds that the dimensions of Yochid are like we hold, 10 Tvachim by 4x4. Tiny Rabbi Yosha taught us, Megura Shemenish Rishus Rabin. You have a basket which stands Rishus Rabin, Menorah, Shemenish Rishus Rabin, Menorah, which stands Rishus Rabin, Gavasar, which is 10 Tvachim high, Upircha Arpa, it's foliage, meaning its extensions, right, are 4. So it has a top which is 4x4. Imagine a street lamp. right? It's 10 tvachim high, and at the top it gets wide enough to be 4 by 4. All right. So I mishtamish to Rishus Rayim, Rishus Rayim Teicha, Minoich Chayev. Some use Rishus Rayim onto it, or from it to Rishus Rabim, so it's Chayev. So it says the Gemara, Amray Mona Lo Soft over Menorah. Mona said it's not just a Menorah. And if you look at Rishus Rayim, even a stick, Gavah Sar Tvachim, 10 tvachim high. The tablet in the Sunnah B'Rosh, you have a tablet on top of it, which is 4 by 4. Hamishtam Mishto Rishus Rayim, so you use it from Rishus Rayim to it. Rishus Rayim to Rishus Rabim to it. Chayev, you're Chayev. Minayin l'malu me'asor Rishus Aches. I know anything which extends above 10 tvachim is another Rishus. So we use Bavli and Sukkah. Rav Shimon Logi said, how do I know this? Because it says, God says, I'll speak to you from the top of the Kaporas, which is on the arm between the two Kruvim. Uksivin, it says, you saw that I spoke to you from the heavens. So Hashem speaks from the heavens, which is another Rishus. Shemaim, Hashem, Artzos, Aliv Ne'odom, right? So he's speaking from the heavens, different Rishus. Stephen, it says, sorry, Ma Dibush Nemer Lam Rishus Acher, just like the Dibur over there by his Rishus Acher to the Shemaim. Af Dibush Nemer Kan, so too in the base of Mikdash, the Dibur is coming from Rishus Acher, which is above the Aron, right? Varon La Tesha Tvachim, so says why that's fine, but there was the Aron only 9 Tvachim high. There's Rabbi Yanai Omru Kaperis Tefach. Besides the height of the arm, the Kaperis itself was the Tefach high. So it made 10 Tvachim altogether. So it says the Gemara, Rabbi Zira boy Minan Kaperishu Tefach. How many Kaperis is the Tefach high? Tana Rabbi Chanani Bar Shmuel. Kol came Shuma Mikdash. Did that turn Midas Orko? All came the Mitzvah Torah gave the length, the rochvo and width, and the shirkamas and the height. Except for the kaparis. Shnos Torah midas orka v'rochvo. The Torah gives its width and its length. Below not the shirkamas, and the Torah does not give its height. So till medenamikli kodesh mikdash. Learn out the smallest in Beis Hamikdash. What does it say? Vasislam is geras tefach saviv. Should make for the table, the shulchan, a frame of a tefach around. Ma kan tefach, have kan tefach. It was just like the table had a frame of a tefach, so too the kaporis was a tefach. Says the Gemara, wait a minute, let's learn for the crown, which is on top of the misgaris on the shulchan, which is a mashu, ma kan koshu av kan koshu. Says more my kadon, so what comes out here? And Lesber Yaakov Amar, Pnei. It says Pnei HaKaparis. And we learn out the same thing you have in the Bible almost exactly. Vein Pnei Pochs Mi Tefach. The height of a face is not less than a Tefach. Okay? Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yossi boy. Rabbi Yossi asked, now this is not in the Bible. I understand. How can you learn out from the Oren and the Kapaychas? But Ilu Migdosh Shu'emei B'toch HaBayis. If you have a closet, or the Korbanei says the bima. If you have a bima standing in a house, Kivoya Kama, which is several Tvachim high, Shemein Amutu Lishtamish B'toch HaBayis, are you now allowed to put something from the rest of the house onto the bima in a bayis tochel from the house, from it onto the rest of the house, or for the rest of the house onto it? Is this a separate rishus? No. But are you allowed to carry from here the table to there?
Well, you're in the rishus.
All right. You're inside a building, right? So is the Aron. So I can learn from the Aron. That's his question. It was all inside the Mishkan.
Yeah, but the voice was coming from a different rishus.
It wasn't a different rishus. It was all inside a building. Different rishus, it had to be outside the building. Say, that can't be called Shemaim. It's inside a building. Says a very strange answer. At least according to Korban, I understand the pre-motion interpretation of the answer. But I understand the Korban is just fine strange. Says Mar, we're talking about even the time when Moshe was setting out the directions. The Gemara, or Moshe, Aaron, the Korban brings out, I don't know if it's a medrash or he made it up, there's a nace. Whenever they came to rest and they put down the Aron, so if they would put in whatever direction, it would immediately, like a compass needle, snap to the east. Right? And at that point, Hashem would be prepared to speak to Moshe, even before they put the rest of the Mishkan in place. So they would put down the Aron first, and then build the Mishkan around it. So before the Mishkan was built, when only the Aron was in place, that's when it was a Rishus Acheres on top of the Aron. Okay? Not later on. Okay, when the Aron was sitting there, acting as a compass, telling them which way to build the Mesa Mikdash. Okay? All this is good according to being shows in Amos 6 Fachim, of course. Then the Aron was an Am and a half, which is 9 Fachim, plus one of the Kapporos. But however, around Command Amos Chamisha, what about being shows in Amos 5 Fachim? The Am of the base of Mikdash 5 Fachim, the Am of Shabinian. Var Lav Shiva Tfachim Mechzu. This is the Aron, then 7.5 Tfachim. So how are we going to learn out from the Aron? Anyway, it says Rabbi Yaakov Baruch Amar the Beis Rabbi Yana Berushim Ben Yari Yotzarak. It's Machlokas Has Rabbi Yana Berushim Ben Yotzarak. Chad Yos Mi Aron. One of them learns from the Aron because I guess he holds the Amos 6 Tfachim. Charona Yos Mi Leimin Agos. He learns for the wagons the Levim use. B'stad Beis Rabbi Yana Yos Mi Leimin Aron. What? 10 Tfachim. We're getting there. So it says, the base Rabbi Yana Yalfina Laminar. Makes sense to say the house of Rabbi Yana learn that from the Aron. Why? The base Rabbi Yana, I mean, the Kapor Sor, the house of Rabbi Yana is the one who taught us that Kapor Sor is a Tefach. But Rabbi Shimon Yotzak, hopefully now goes, he learns from the other goes. Rabbi Zira, boy, Minay Lagos and Gvos Lasora. So it says, Rabbi Zira, wait a minute. How do we know the goes to 10th Fachim high? Rabbi Yisrael said, I feel Tamar Gavas, I even know that they're 10th Fachim high. Well, Tani, Rabbi Nechem teach us, Tzav can mean Kamar Tzav. They're called Eglos Tzav. Turtle wagons. That's what they're called. Eglos Tzav, turtle wagons. What does it mean they were turtle wagons? That they were really kind of Stogo wagons. Can mean Kamar Stav. Oh, you know what kind of Stogo wagon is? The ones which they conquered the West, right? The ones which had kind of stuff, right? So they had, they had roofs. So Mistam they had 10 Fachim with the roof, right? When they were closed. So Ilu Chorb, for this we can learn Ilu Chorb Shusarayim and Gavoa Asar Vrachav Arba. For this we can learn. So Mistam with we learn for this. If you have a whole Rishus Harabim, which is 4 Tvachim, by 10 Tvachim by 4 Tvachim. Shem ein also l'shtamish total l'shus rayim l'sochos. So I understand. To learn out that they took the beams in and out of the wagon through the holes in the side, so you're not allowed to take from Rishus HaYachid, which is like a house, into a Rishus HaRabim, through a window. El b'shorshu machine is a crushing mizul zu, but l'maisa when they used to take the crushing from one to another. The wagons were open. And at that point, the wagons were not 10 Tfachim high. So how do we know that 10 Tfachim makes a separate Rishus? When they were closed, if they were to take out the Kroshim, then, understand, see, Sarabim is 10 Tfachim, right? But even then, you'd still only see that if you're not allowed to take from inside a Rishus HaYachid, because there's a covered Rishus HaYachid, into Rishus HaRabim. But Lamaisa, when the wagons are open, they weren't 10 Tfachim high. So how do we know you're not allowed to take from a platform which is 10 Tfachim high to Rishus HaYachid, to Rishus HaRabim? Yeah, was less than 10 Tfachim though. Right, the wagon with the platform was less than 10. The platform was low off the ground. With it was 10 Tfachim high. When the platform was open, it wasn't Rishus HaYachid anymore. So we don't know. We learn out from how it goes. We don't know the shiur of Asar Tvachim. So we're stuck. We'll end with the question. Lumber shining meeting. Okay, we'll stop here.
What's your schedule this week? You're not Wednesday night?
We're on tomorrow night. We're on Thursday night. We're off Wednesday night.